This is the vamp guitar to go with my interview in Goth Mojo Guitar Magazine, or self-published at ferrarilover.com. I mentioned like some of the downsides in the darkwave scene, but I also have had good experiences, and one of the best experiences of my life was meeting Suede, the members of Suede, hanging out with them backstage at the Warfield in November of 2022. So I didn't mention that in the interview, and it's just important to me that people understand like how much Suede influenced me and how grateful I am that they like welcomed me back, that I backstage. And after I met Matt the year prior. So yeah, the video is about to come here. I re-uploaded this video because I'm a perfectionist. What's going on? I'm Ferrari Kilian Wyland. I'm the artist Ferrari Lover, and I'm redoing this video here. This is a video of my London Suede autographed Fender HM Strat from my San Francisco, from seeing them in San Francisco at the Warfield. And that was in 2022. Basically, I think that Suede and Pulp are miscategorized in terms of Britpop. Also, the band Manson, Mansun, they're pretty amazing as well. There's a couple of like Manson and Stone Roses tracks that are amazing. I personally am not fond of the term Britpop. I just think it's and Brett Anderson, the lead singer himself, would definitely agree. If you've not heard of this band, they're called the London Suede in America, and their first record was famously, like, there was a famous article written in the NME, which is the biggest, and at the time, like in, I think it was 92 or 93, the NME music magazine was literally everything. I have to think back when there was no digital anything, like being on the cover of that magazine and being called the best new band in Britain. Brett describes it, the experience. So basically the London Suede is, especially their earlier work up through maybe right before Bloodsport, it just captures a time in my life. And I remember when I first heard, so they're called the best new brand in Britain, which is really an extreme thing. And I highly recommend Brett Anderson's, I'm going to do the rest of this like review, basically assuming Suede, because I'm assuming anyone who's watching this, they probably know Suede. And you probably feel the same way if you're a fan, like I am. And I'm definitely not the fan type. Like, I'm kind of the opposite of a fanboy. So I went through a lot of like vacillating as to whether or not I was going to have them sign the guitar at all in the first place. But it all kind of lined up. I'll turn the guitar over in the later part of the video and you can see. So the London Suede had really extreme success, especially in like Japan, all over the UK and Europe. And their first record was critical acclaim, released to critical acclaim. They famously had a falling out after their second record, as they were finishing recording Dogman Star, their second record. They had a falling out with the original guitarist. But so Suede was formed, as you know, I'm assuming by Brett Anderson and Matt Osman. And so that's how I ended up meeting Suede. I was on a Zoom, and there ended up being I was led through it was definitely a divine alignment moment. So I met Matt, and a lot of the people on the Zoom were just of a different generation. Like, the topic of the Zoom was not specifically for Suede. So I spoke up and I just told him what a fan I am of suede. And so everyone else was kind of surprised because they didn't know this side of Matt. It was like so Matt is like, I'm definitely very like high masking, high functioning autistic. I never would have considered myself like, I'm definitely have ADHD for sure. You know, like any decent human being, I've struggled with depression and things like that. Um, but now it's becoming more common to like validate the neurodivergent experience. And I was joking that Matt Osmond, the bassist of Suede, is such an autistic, like, you know, fan, like idol to have. I don't think idol is the proper word for it, but definitely. So what happened is I went to Vassar, which is like a small liberal arts college about an hour north of New York City. And my friend she was playing me like PJ Harvey at the time. We were listening to a lot of Portishead and DJ Shadow, the first DJ Shadow record. So the thing that's really cool about Vassar is how close it is to New York City. It's just, even though I grew up in a relatively big city I grew up in like North San Diego County, close to LA. Being that close to New York City was definitely exposure to like just a lot of, I feel like anything coming across the pond is going to usually hit New York before it hits LA. So the first time my friend played it for me, I didn't really like it. And that's common. Like, I was just telling someone today, sometimes I'll have to audition like, you know, over 50 tracks before I find one I like in the DJ mix. There is my long sword pedal there. But anyway, then in 99, I was taking time off and I was back home, and I went to Lou's Records in Leucadia and I did a blind buy of Sci-Fi Lullabies, the 2 CD set. And I put it in, and at the time I had a black 2000 Honda Prelude, one of my favorite cars ever, the original Batmobile. I was just, that's my thing. That's part of where the name comes from is, you know, whenever it's kind of like Dylan Reader used to say, if he's having a day or whatever, he'll go skate. I would go drive and put on music. And I think part of it is just where I grew up. Like, it's very strange to me that young people today don't get their license because that was like that was everything. That was life. So experiencing, it was, I forget which exact track, but I had a 4-channel equalizer in my, I'm big on EQ, and just the bass with the guitar is very trebly. Brett's voice is very like, he has this amazing falsetto. It's a very tenor, but it's just so like, the whole band as a whole is so technically proficient. There are my Christmas bats from Eastern Europe. Anyway, this really was like Christmas in November. I was there in November in San Francisco, so I'm kind of going back and forth. I fell in love with suede, long story short. And the bass playing in particular stood out to me, just the contrasting elements, how well it was mixed and mastered. Brett's voice, like it's a nasally voice. A lot of times if you first hear suede, if you don't have enough low and mid in the track, and it's not like really high-end speakers. If you haven't heard suede, it's critical that you have really good speakers, simply because same thing with my music, like the high ends, like I love the treble, don't get me wrong, but it just completely, not there's anything wrong with, I don't think there's anything wrong with a quote-unquote thin mix, but what I'm basically saying is, when you dial in the EQ correctly, that's how you can really experience suede. So like Simon, the drummer, and Matt always have these amazing grooves going. And then you have Neil, who plays synth and guitars. He was playing guitars on this last tour, and I've never seen him play a Tele before. He was playing a Telecaster. But yeah, so that's when I fell in love with suede. It was because truly I was listening on good speakers, and there you can see the signatures. There's Simon, the drummer, Neil, Matt, and love Brett. Brett had just taken a shower, and I just had a very brief interaction with him, but he was totally cool. It was basically just like hanging out with people I've known my whole life. And we used the same deodorant. It was interesting. And I really recommend Brett's book. So his vocabulary and sophistication, especially like the schooling in the UK, is really outstanding. And I relate a lot to how Brett was raised. Even though, I kind of have the experience of wealth and also having nothing. And as a kid, I wanted more than anything a guitar. And I was never able to get one. So I grew up, watching every dime, and I really relate to that. And Brett wrote Coal Black Mornings. There you can see he wrote Love Brett. That's the beginning autobiography of how he grew up. And then he met Matt at school in Haywards Heath, an hour south of London. And Matt's such a great guy. Like, it was just great getting to know him. And I'm really relieved that I took the chance, because you never know if. And he, at the time Matt describes it, he said he was in a really dodgy, I love that word, dodgy goth band at the time. And Brett was playing in one of the rooms I think they met at UCL. I think, though, they both grew up in Haywards Heath. I'd have to fact check that. But anyway, so they joined the band, and it's really the backbone of their friendship that has carried the band. And then, so Coal Black Mornings is just, I burnt myself out reading philosophy in college, could not put that book down. It's so beautifully written. So I really related to, because at the time, I've always been a bit of an intellectual, but there's this kind of, I just think Britpop is such an insult. It's clearly a device of the media. And Brett was very aware, how he was like losing his grip, it's very hard when they become like a huge deal like that quickly, overnight success, especially when you come from nothing. I think he's done pretty amazing job of remaining low key. And I particularly I'm embarrassed for America that they didn't become a big deal in America. And it's simply because they're too intellectual. It's almost like they're too good. That I don't want to diss America. I mean, basically for me, California, Illinois, like Chicago and New York, that's America, or like the college towns, whatever. A lot of beautiful cowboy desert in between, but there's just a lot of like lack of sophistication, and the education system is not as good. So there's just a lot of, they're brilliant lyrics. And like, for instance, the first time I heard that song, My Insatiable One, I mean, if you can imagine, Morrissey was felt that it was a compliment. Like, he covered that song. That's how good that song is. It's such a commentary on just the state of being a person, kind of like, a critique of the ego, as it were. And that line, on the escalator as the ridiculous world goes by, we shit paracetamol, which is Tylenol. So, like, one of my first formative experiences was I grew up speaking French, but I had to also study it in school. I chose to simply because part of my family was French, and I was, like, obsessed with understanding it from a young age. But the first time I went to France, I was 15 years old, and you can learn more in, like, 24 hours in Europe as a teenager than you can studying for years. And so immediately, like, when I heard that line, it was the Europeanness of it really appealed to me, because it's just more sophisticated in a lot of ways. So anyway, it's just this guitar moving along to, like, I would say, especially like Dogman Star, when I was living in New York City, I remember like blasting that record when I was getting ready. Some of the sad songs I definitely skip. Like, they were too intense for me. I mean, I also relate to the fact that I've seen the utter despair and darkness, and I don't ever like to go back there. So the really sad songs I skip. But it's ironic that this song, These Are the Sad Songs, it's actually a pretty uplifting song. This Hollywood Life is one of my favorite all-time tracks. He Is Dead, great, amazing track. It's just got these hooks. It's so unique. And, like, I don't even consider those other bands really relevant, to be honest. I think once you really understand Suede, there's really no going back. So, yeah, they got me, like, VIP tickets and a sticker badge to go backstage. And I'm a pretty shy person, but I went for it. And this was a vintage guitar I got in San Francisco. The bag was like reeked of cigarette smoke. I think it's from the 90s. So this is my favorite Fender guitar, the HM Strat. And yeah, I mean, Richard Oakes, the guitarist who replaced the original guitarist, they're both prodigies. But also just like musically, it's so groundbreaking and very high level musicianship. That's what, like, they have hooks, but it's basically combining. It's like the style that I play guitar, I can't help it. It is very much the way, it's kind of like a combination of the guitar and bass on that track, So Alive by Love and Rockets. That's the track that, like, made me goth as a kid when it was on the radio. And then combine that with the sophistication and complexity of Suede. The guitar parts are very complex. Simple and deceptively, like, complex. And they just have a great, like, if you watch Lost in TV, there's like a DVD. I used to watch it on repeat when I lived in Orange County in my early 20s. I had to have a specific region-free DVD player. That's what Suede fans in the US go through. Like, half the stuff you can only get in England. And tragically, I've spent a lot of time in the airport in Heathrow. There's little did you know, there's actually, well, I'm not going to get into my whole, like, traveling thing. I can go around too many, that's the ADHD going. But that's when I knew there was a possibility that autism might be kind of cool and that I could be autistic. It's like a meme where it's a picture of a dude, says, me thinking listening to the same song like 400 times on repeat is normal. And then in the back, there's this shadowy figure and it says autism. So, like, I didn't know, I thought everybody did that. But so, yeah, I think anybody who's a Suede fan would know what a special thing this is. And it's quite rare. I've never seen another Suede autographed guitar, so just kind of realized that. And Richard was, like, there were such great guys, just really chill. They met me as Nico before I started going. I go only by my middle name now, which is Ferrari. But yeah, this was it was just a great experience. It was just me and some other dude, and I was just hanging out, kind of chit-chatting, standing there. Like, I didn't have to say much. I was just so grateful to be there. Richard was really nice to me, and he checked out the guitar, and he was like, I should maybe get one of these. I don't really, I mean, I think the Jazzmaster is a great guitar, but it doesn't work for my stature. I'm not good at playing it. It's a pretty unwieldy guitar. But yeah, I mean, anyone who, like, obviously My Bloody Valentine is definitely a big influence. I actually saw them in Rome. But for instance, I don't really have an interest in meeting Kevin Shields, even though, like, if you've seen that picture of his pedal board, what an influence. I mean, there's that kind of, look up Kevin Shields' pedal board. And of course, I'm just, like, finally they came out with a big article on Richard. He's such an underrated guitarist. I mean, at 8 years old, he came in and could play. If you can come in and play perfect note for note suede songs. It's just, like that's a divine thing. And he's a great songwriter and in his own right. I mean, only Richard could have filled the shoes that were left by you know who. So anyway, I recommend also like Afternoons with the Blinds Drawn. It's such a great book. And if you're a fellow suede fan, like, welcome to my channel. This is definitely a prized possession, and I'm glad I went ahead and did it. I customized it with some ferrarilover motifs, and I have a couple of these guitars. This one in particular plays like butter. Like this is the only proprietary Floyd that I've played that I quite like. It's just such a. I'm really glad that I did this, and this is your sign. Like, don't regret whatever for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? I'm very glad that I did it. And it's so unlike me to try to like hang backstage, whatever, but I've done quite a bit of it. Like I've hung out for quite a bit with Jason Pierce from Spiritualized and Doggin from Spiritualized, a really nice guy. That's his nickname. I forget his regular name. But it really did. It just felt like hanging out with, I think family is the wrong word. Just people who've been a part of my life. It's almost like, I mean, there are a lot of people in my quote unquote family. I don't have a very big family, but there's people in my quote unquote family who don't even know me at all. And so I definitely felt like I didn't even have to say anything. I was like, Neil, you're a man after my own heart. Man, a few words. Just experiencing that with them, it definitely felt like a divine gift. And so yeah, this guitar is worth, it's priceless to me, and I do enjoy playing it. So I'm glad I got that little marker. They also signed an Empress Echo pedal that I got at Mission Synths. Next time you're in San Francisco, next time I'm there, I love that place, Mission Synths, and the guy who owns it, he was he literally went out of his way. I texted him, he gave me his cell, and I texted him, and he brought a Vermona drum synth from home to the store, specifically hooked it up with the computer so I could try it with Logic, and I thought that was really cool. So there's a skate shop across the way. I just love San Francisco. I'm definitely like a Pacific Northwest style person. SoCal to the bone, but at the same time, I love San Francisco. I prefer the cooler weather. Hung out in North Beach for a bit, definitely one of my, all-time greatest experiences. And they kept it really chill. I mean, there was only one other dude back there. It was a little bit suspicious too, because he was kind of the opposite of a suede person. He was loud and whatever, but yeah, it was just great to meet Matt online, and I really appreciate them. And of course, the show was amazing. I specifically went to the Warfield because suede is meant to be heard. Like, music festivals are such a lie. It's literally the worst way to experience, the worst way to perform. It's such a horrible thing all around, artists and fans. The Warfield is it's a little sketchy. I had a private driver and everything with whatever, a cat, what are those, like SUVs waiting for me, because of course it's right on the edge of the Tenderloin district. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's a National Historic Landmark. It's an incredible. So yeah, I heard today, actually, I found out that my interview with Goth Guitar Magazine on Zoom, February 2025, that I self-published on my website, I found out that's nicknamed the Vamp interview, which is interesting. And yeah, this is definitely a Vamp guitar. Out of all the Fenders, this is the Vamp guitar. It's my favorite Fender to play. My very first guitar was actually a Telecaster that I got in New York City, and I literally forget the name. I think it, it wasn't St. Mark's Guitar. It was like a shop, kind of like like one or two streets west of Union Square. And yeah, that was the guitar I had for a long time, just like noodling around and learning whatever I could. But before I started, like when I started really seriously studying, and then then I had the Gibson SG from the Fountain Valley Guitar Center, and then was the Ferrari Lover Gem in 2010. So like, tragically, when I lived in LA, the Telecaster was stolen, and I think I was just, it was a pretty sketchy thing. You learn a lot, like in your ultimate youth. You trust the wrong people, to put it mildly. And that was when LA was like safe compared to what it is now. But anyways, basically I hope one day to get a custom Telecaster, because I mentioned Neil was playing a Telecaster. It's just that basically the sultry, like, to have an arm and belly cut on a guitar is super important to me, and the quality of the tonality of the wood. I actually bought a telly body with a binding on it years ago, but it didn't have enough. It didn't have enough of a arm and belly cut on it. And so what I love about this guitar, it's got a super fast neck, and like I said, it's the proprietary. Like, I'm just gonna leave it stock because I just don't want to. It's got that rosewood fretboard, maple neck, and it's amazing to play. And Richard Oakes. I have a picture of Richard Oakes holding it. What more do you want? I don't know. I think definitely, though, he would have to replace the bridge with a higher end tremolo system if he did. But just playing night after night, it would be a lot. But anyway, yeah, I hope at some point I get another telly. It would be a very. I really connected with this guitar in San Francisco. It all came together at just the right time. And I'm thinking of that song "Wide Open Space" by Manson, and then "Love Spreads" by the Stone Roses. Say those two songs are just like top tier, and pretty much you can't go wrong. Like, Coming Up in particular is such a time capsule but it's very timeless at the same time of a record. I think, yeah, everything. I don't listen to the sad songs other than These Are the Sad Songs, which is really a great song. I love the song Together from Sci-Fi Lullabies. New Generation from Dogman Star. Savoir Faire. Like, I'll do another quick video on the synth player from the band. Everybody knows the synth player from that band. I'm not even going to say who does the pedal prints. She did a custom print for me. It's one of these big name in the goth scene right now. And it's like the knobs say, one says savoir and one says faire, and that's French for know-how. It's such a brilliant song. Even the song like Can't Get Enough, Film Star, those are very like poppy songs, but it's just not Brit pop. Like, it has too much of an edge to it. Not really. Like, once A New Morning came out, I got really depressed and I didn't really like it. It was a little too like, not sanguine. I don't know what. But I'm going to wrap up this video. I'm trying to think if I had to pick my all-time favorite Suede song, maybe the hook from Savoir Faire. Just the guitar part. It's so sexy and sultry the way it comes in. This Hollywood Life. Together, He Is Dead. God, I know I'm gonna think of ones that Killing of a Flash Boy, such a good song. That's actually, Brett wrote that song when he was like, kind of like, almost got, almost got accosted by a group of like random drunk, like, football fans, soccer fans. He was DJing at a club in London. And there's just a lot of brilliant references to what it's like, the struggle of basically being, I mean, I guess neurodivergent is the word, just cool. I mean, being cool is, it takes a lot. So, such a great song, Killing of a Flash Boy, that came out of that. Like, it's such a good cultural observation. But yeah, I guess I'm going to wrap it up right now. I think This Hollywood Life would probably have to be my all-time fave Suede song. And yeah, I highly recommend Lost in TV, where I'll put the link below. If I don't, you can find it. Suede reacting to their music videos. It's Matt opens it up and he's like, excellent. Like, it's just the whole thing was a wonderful experience. So, and yeah, the main point is the arpeggiated, slick, sophisticated riffs with the hooks. Like, it's got hooks as hooky as Nirvana, and arpeggiated riffs as, I believe they're just as complex as anything Steve Vai has done. I mean, it's funny that I play Steve Vai guitars. I'm very grateful for him, but like, a lot of his style is not necessarily everything it's like if Steve Vai were a British, British kid in a dodgy goth band, I guess that would be Suede. So I consider them to be part of the history of goth. I'm taking back the term goth. The average quote unquote goth, like, I don't really, in a way, I 100% identify as vamp or goth, but in another way, it's like I said, you don't have to put on makeup like a clown to be a goth. But I love Drab Majesty. That is not meant as an insult to Drab Majesty's whole like aesthetic that they're doing. They're one of my favorite bands, and I've mentioned before, I use one of the main guy from Drab Majesty. I don't know how he prefers to be addressed or how he goes by, but I use one of his pedals he sold to me. He sold some of his gear like a while back, and I use it all the time. The DiMarcio Very Metal pedal. Just the fact, and he also, I can't find it. He sold me his CE2, his Boss Chorus, and God, I think some jerk, when I moved, someone made off with it. If not, we'll find it. But just knowing I had those pedals that were made on that song, one of my favorite all-time Drab Majesty song. That's for another video. But you could hear in the right context, like a Suede song and a Drab Majesty song, and you could see how it fits in with Ferrari Lover, like, really well. So, there's no pickguard on this guitar, and that's one of the things I really like about it. And, yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.